Hello and welcome back to this series of videos covering how to implement cover system. The last video I found a few bugs which quickly demonstrated here is when I approach a wall and I press crouch. It's going to make this little twitch. So you can see it there, and if I just slow down time, see right there, he's going to make a little turn back and forth. So in the meantime, I figured out why that was happening, and it's because the transition is now happening once the montage is done playing. So even though I actually addressed this problem earlier, but in the meantime I forgot why this was happening. But just to recap, when we have an animation notifier firing, let's say at 25, as I started out with, that event does maybe get triggered, but the actual transition in the state does not happen before the montage is done playing. So in order to compensate for this, we will click on this one, which is going from the idle run down to the cover, and we have the duration blend saying 0.2, and if we make that a 0 like this, it should instantly switch, so we shouldn't be able to see that transition anymore. So now it just pops into the right position. Okay, so that took care of that problem. So the other problem was when we were zooming into first person, we had all kinds of funny stuff going on because he's losing contact with the wall. So this is maybe going to be a little bit harder because it has several parts to it. But let's begin with one thing: the rotation. Well, the rotation when we climb is being handled by an on-tick event. Check climbing state, I believe it is. This big fella here, and let's see. Actually, that's not what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say is when we zoom from third person to first person, like this, we call a function called camera zoom. So right about here, and what this one does is to check if we are in a hanging braced state, and if that is the case, let's just zoom in on this, and in case you haven't seen this one, it basically just takes care of all the switching between the two cameras I have. I have a first person and a third person. What is it? Oh, follow cam it's called. Okay, and well, we have some smoothing going on here, and then we switch cameras if needed. I'm just gonna scroll slowly past this in case you need to copy this. You can just pause it, and we have the stuff with the something with the hit react effects that I've been implementing, and in the meantime wanted to disable because I don't really want to play with it right now. And then we have this piece of code saying if we are hugging the wall, then we want to limit the rotation yaw, and we want to also limit the camera yaw limits. And this function we implemented earlier, so I won't go into detail with that. But it's basically just taking two values of minimum, maximum, and making sure that we don't move the camera outside of these two angles. So what we want to do here to begin with is just to add another state here, saying is nope, equals is standing cover. So if we are in either this one as a hanging braced or standing cover, then we want to update this hugging wall. And also in the meantime I added this one climbing state to a local movement. Oh, it should be called actually movement state. It's an old name from when I was calling it climbing. So I'm saving a local variable because now it makes sense to have it as a local variable because I need it all the way over here. So no, actually I don't need it because it still makes good sense to have it, because these two values 70, I want to change them depending on which state we're in. So let's see, we have this sequence going on. So first we are doing something here, setting some the length of the boom, and because I have space here, I'm just gonna drag off from this one because I know that the next part down here is going to be executed afterwards, which is why I need it. I may have left that variable. Yeah, I have a local yaw limit, which I just created, which is just a float. And I want to set that local yaw limit based on what climbing state we're in. So I'm going to make a switch. I think it's easier if we just drag this one out, the local movement state, and say switch, and then pop this one in. So let's say if we are in a hanging braced sorry, in a hanging braced state, then we want to make the local yaw limit 70, and if we are in a standing cover state, let's just copy this one. Then we want to, let's say, minus 90 maybe, just a little bit more. I think that would be fair, because yeah, and also just to make it different than the other one. And then this local yaw limit I'm going to replace all the way over here with the 70, hard-coded 70 values. So I'm going to drag this one in. Replace this one and this one. And notice I have minus and plus, so I can just drag the same one in here. And that should work as it is, but it causes a new problem. So inside first person, and we turn to cover state. So now we can look back and forth, and here's the problem. We are now kind of inside the the head of the character. So, and it also creates a different problem because we are now facing outwards to away from the wall. So if I press right now, I would expect to move this direction. So if I press right, I'm gonna move left. And the reason for that is because I set it up from the third person view. So if I press right, it's going to move right as I expect, and left, it's going to move left. But once I switch in here, we are going to have opposite controls. So that's something we also need to look into. But first of all, I want to fix this problem with the head. And actually, if we take a look at it from this angle, we can see the problem is that his head is turned, and the camera is located. Maybe I can. No, I cannot. Can I release the cursor? Yeah, but it's gonna disappear. Okay. Do I have a pause somewhere? Oh. Ah, bugger. Okay, I have I have to have some code. I was testing, trying to make a pause screen. What did I put it? Somewhere in the experimental section. Here it is. Somewhere there. Okay, so let's take this one and disconnect, and this one disconnect. So this is what this part is just going to take and switch, so we can see the cursor and enable click events. But it's kind of handy because in this situation I want to point something. So let's go into cover and pause. Take the pause menu forward. So it's not paused right now, I know, but the camera is kind of like here, just on top of his forehead. So when we zoom into first person and turn the camera around, his head is not gonna turn with the camera movement, so we will keep seeing part of his head, and I'm not really sure what part this is, but it's something that I probably need to remove his head in first person, and I've done this in a previous video, so I will suggest we do that first before we take a look at any of the other problems. For example, the movement. Let's fix that later on. So let's open up YouTube and see if I can find the video I made. So I believe it was something with head. What did I call it? Dropping down, preparing, jumping from ledge. I should probably have checked that before I made this video. How to think with here it is. Separate head and body for character using 3D Max. So it's part 13 of this series. That's a long time ago. It seems so. It's actually 1 month ago. So in that video I covered how to remove the head. So I'm going to do that off video in order not to repeat myself, because since this video and the current video I switched projects, and I actually ditched this separate head and body. But I think I want to reintroduce it now and see if that works out. So I'm gonna do that now, and I'm gonna see you in the next video. So stay tuned, and see you in the next. Bye bye.